Ghostrunner is a game that has very mixed reviews. It released in 2020 and was later given out for free on PS Plus in 2022, which is when I originally started the game. Now, I couldn't tell you why I didn't finish it, but 2 years later I decided to go back and get myself the Platinum Trophy. There's 34 trophies for this game and I have one, so let's get straight into it. The first trophy I unlocked was Long Runner, and this was for simply running 42 kilometers, which shows I hardly played in the first place. I then had to complete a couple of not so difficult puzzles to earn myself the running out of breath achievement for saving the residents of Sector 5. The next one was also easy as I had to kill 74 enemies right after jumping off a wall, and I must say the traversal in this game is really fun, so getting this achievement was certainly quite the blast. I then miserably failed a couple of times to get the next achievement, which required me to kill an enemy with a projectile reflected by Tempest, but we got there. Now comes honestly the hardest level in the entire game, Decommission Tom. It's the first boss battle in the game that has you kill this machine called Tom, and the first stage is this. You have to dodge all these lasers. That's crazy. Now, once you actually get a hang of it, you feel like an absolute boss, dodging everything, especially if you utilise your L1. Once at the top, you cut an electric wire, which isn't too great since you are a robot, and then you are on to phase 2. For this phase, you have to do a lot of wall running whilst dodging these shockwave blasts that are coming out of Tom. Once you get the timing right, it's actually quite easy, but you wouldn't think that with the amount of death. There is thankfully a checkpoint for this stage, but after you complete that, you get to dodge even more lasers. I got some good advice off Zoe to not fall, but I fell as soon as she said that, so I guess it wasn't that good, and got to climbing. This entire level is a big test of patience. If you wait for the lasers to pass, then you can maneuver around them easily, but if you go all guns blazing like this, then you'll burn to death. But eventually I once again cut another electric wire and perfectly dodge everything whilst falling. How nice to bring the big guy down, but it's not over yet. For the last stage you have to dodge shockwaves and lasers. How fun. I managed to destroy one of the remaining cores, I guess you can call them that, and then was on to the last, and I got so close but no cigar that time, Johnny. But not long after I finally got to the last. Oh, you have got to be kidding. For the actual last thing you have to do is the exact same thing, but this time it's a lot easier, so I actually destroyed the last core and Tom is defeated. What lovely dialogue from Zoe there. On to the next trophy, which is Can't Run, Can't Hide. For this you have to use your abilities to kill 5 enemies that are shielded, so a very easy one. Another very easy one that I'm surprised I didn't get earlier was to use 2 different special abilities in 10 seconds. For this I just swapped abilities when I died. Now time for the second boss battle, which is against another Ghostrunner, even though they're all meant to be dead, and that Ghostrunner is hell. A pretty weird boss battle because it does have some sort of a sword fight. It's not the best, to be honest. Basically when her sword glows, you swing at the same time until her defense drops, and then you can attack her. But if you mistime, her defense goes back to full and you end up having an awkward sword fight. As her health depletes, she starts shooting lasers, which is so cool and original. But if you die at any point, you have to restart the entire boss fight. That's right, there's no checkpoints for this one, which I found out when I awesomely killed myself. But there's not much to say for this fight. You do get to Anakin Skywalker a head off, which is cool, but you don't get to keep the sword, which is an L. So, on this level, you first discover these horrific creatures, and they honestly freaked me out. I hate being chased in games, and that's exactly what these things do. They chase you until they eventually blow up, like they are relentless. You can just be doing a level, you know, running along, and they just show up out of nowhere just to stress you out. But moving on, the next achievement I got was for using the Tempest ability on 3 enemies at once, which included those horrendous mugs. And then about 10 minutes later, I also managed to master my full potential, which includes making enemies go after each other, which is pretty cool, I can't lie. These next couple of achievements were all ability based, so I thought I'd do a little section and talk about them. The abilities are actually all fun to use. I do like all of them, and they do get better once you upgrade them, which I will eventually get to, but they are all useful and help you play the game differently in a nice but not major way, which I like. The multiple options to take things on definitely keep Ghostrunner feeling fresh, especially with new enemies being introduced alongside these abilities, which I feel like games fail to do a lot of the time since not all abilities feel important. But in Ghostrunner they all have equal value. I wouldn't say one's better than the other utility wise. But anyways, after surfing on this drone to kill 3 enemies at once, we finally make it to the Keymaster, which for some reason I didn't really record, which is annoying, but she's the final boss, so well done me. Nonetheless, not too difficult, probably the easiest boss fight in the game. And then shortly after, I completed the last mission in the game, which is to complete my lovely climb up the tower and free it from corruption. I am so nice. It's cleanup time, baby, but you're probably wondering why the title says I made it more difficult to complete this game. Well, basically you have a lovely thing called the GRSPC, that is wrong. Basically you have a lovely thing called the GRSCP. and all these Tetris looking things are different upgrades. It turns out the entire game I didn't actually have any equipped because I never put them on the board because I didn't know how to. So I assumed they just worked once you unlocked them, but no, you actually have to move them onto the board. And one of these upgrades allow you to see all collectibles on the map, which meant I had to go back and complete select levels again just to get the collectibles, and for some of them I only needed one and it'd be at the end of a level. Very fun grind. But anyways, the first cleanup trophy I got was R for running, which asks you to clear a level without dying. The whole point of this game is dying, so it can be challenging, or you can just go to level 1 and do that instead. Now there is a clip I'm missing for an achievement. I know I'm so professional, but that was for blocking 5 wardens attacks in a row. I don't know what a warden is, I'm not gonna lie. I then had to kill 3 sluggers using blink while they're in the air, which is very easy, and so is sword to a gunfight. You have to kill 30 enemies with reflected projectiles. You have to kill 30 enemies with reflected projectiles, so I'd reflect it and just purposely die, so they'd respawn, and did that over and over. Now this one was a cool one. For this achievement I had to kill a sniper without getting near him, and with the surge ability this was very doable. Just make sure the sniper doesn't delete you from existence and you're all good. 2 minutes after that I also got the running wild trophy for doing whatever I did on screen. The more than human trophy I did have to try hard for. Okay, I didn't have to try hard at all. Basically I just went to an old level and all these are run at you. You get an upgrade for your Tempest to use it like pretty much infinitely, and I cheesed the trophy. Very easy. I then finally made use of the upgrades and filled so there wasn't any slots left, gaining me a lovely bronze trophy. With all that being done, the last thing I had to do was collect all of the collectibles, and that was it. I got the last sword collectible for my sword collection, and then 9 minutes later I got the last collectible I needed to get me 3 achievements. Junk Runner for getting everything, One Man's Trash for all story items, and finally the lovely platinum achievement. So what do I think of Ghostrunner? I think it's a good game that has really fun movement and combat. It has a simple storyline, and whilst it's not amazing, it works for the type of game Ghostrunner is. It definitely can test your patience at some points, but with every level you complete you can see and feel how much better you are at the game. And if you want a challenge, you can use no upgrades like I did. You can also speedrun levels, and there is DLC also, so if people request it I can 100% that too. Saying that, there's also Ghostrunner 2, which was also on PS Plus, so depending on the comments I'll possibly play that also. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's any specific games you'd like me to play, let me know, and I will see you in the next one.